In this video, you will learn how to use Microsoft Excel step by step. We will navigate Excel's interface, enter, edit, and format data, write formulas that do the math for you, use logic to make automatic decisions, create tables and charts, generate AI-driven summaries, build pivot tables, share your workbook with others online, validate data, and use Power Queries to collect and sort data from a variety of sources. This tutorial also includes 6 small projects that will help you learn through hands-on experience. We'll build a payroll tracker, a student gradebook, a career decision chart, a sales report, a car inventory sheet, and a final challenge that ties everything together. By the end of this video, you will be able to start managing data like a pro. Let's get started. How to access Excel, web versus desktop. You can use Excel in 2 main ways, by accessing it online or using the desktop app that's included with Microsoft 365. The online version is the one we'll be using for this video, and it's called Excel for the web. Don't worry, it is completely free. All you need is a Microsoft account. If you already have a Microsoft 365 subscription and want to use the desktop app, you're free to do so. Both versions let you store your work in the cloud, collaborate with others, and format data using the same functions. To get started, go to excel.new in your browser and it will open a new blank workbook. If you are not signed into your Microsoft account, you might have to quickly log in. It's that easy. Everything you create is saved in OneDrive, which allows you to easily access your files from any device. For now, let's backtrack. Click the Excel icon in the upper left corner to go to the home page. The Excel Start page, Templates, and Interface Tour. Let's start from the top and work our way down. At the very top, you can create a blank workbook or upload a file to start a new one. Beneath that, you can open the workbook we just opened. Beneath that, you can browse for some templates, ready-made spreadsheets that save you time and effort. For example, there are templates for budgets, calendars, invoices, schedules, to-do lists, and much more. You can also visit create.microsoft to access a free template library curated by Microsoft. Make sure you're browsing the Excel section and use the search bar located in the center of the screen to find what you need. For example, I'll search for Planner and click on the top search result. From here, you can get a closer look at the template's layout. Read a short brief highlighting its features, and either start editing it online by clicking Customize in Excel, or hitting download and opening it in the desktop app. Let's exit this tab and head back to Excel. At the bottom of the page are all the workbooks you've recently worked on. You can switch to Share to browse workbooks shared with you by someone else, or select Show All Workbooks to go directly to OneDrive and access all your files. All right, let's go ahead and open the book file we created earlier. Click Open in Excel. Okay, let's go over some terminology. Each small box in the grid is called a cell. Cells are organized by columns, letters A, B, C across the top, and rows, numbers 1, 2, 3 down the side. The letters and numbers corresponding to each row are referred to as the header. Where a column and a row meet, you get a cell, such as A1. You can type anything inside a cell, text, numbers, or formulas. At the top, you'll see the ribbon, the main menu bar. It's divided into tabs like Home, Insert, Page Layout, Formulas, and more. Each tab groups similar tools. For example, Home has formatting buttons like bold or underline text, borders, and colors. Insert adds charts and pictures. We'll dive into these tables later when we get working. Just below the ribbon is the formula bar, where you can see or edit what's inside a cell. On the left of that is the name box, showing the cell's address. At the bottom of the screen, you will see sheet tabs. Each one is like a page in your notebook. You can add new sheets by clicking the plus icon. Each sheet can be named and renamed for different projects. If everything appears too small, use the zoom slider in the bottom right corner and click the plus icon to enlarge it. You can also press Ctrl and the scroll wheel on your mouse. Finally, you can navigate the sheet itself by clicking any cell to select it and using the arrow keys to go between cells. You can also hold Shift plus use the arrow keys to do the same, but using the mouse is far easier. Take a few seconds to explore. Click around and get comfortable. Next, we'll learn how to actually type and edit data inside these cells. Entering and editing data. Now that you know your way around Excel, let's input your first data. To type in a cell, just click it and start typing. For example, I'll type 62 in A1. You can press Enter to move down or Tab to move to the right. If you make a mistake, you can always click the cell again and fix it by using the formula bar. Excel uses a simple rule: select to effect. That means you first select what you want to change, then apply the change. For example, select cell A1, then click bold. Entering data manually is a very time-consuming process. Luckily, you can greatly speed this up by using the autofill feature. I'll delete the text in A1 after I unbolded and type Monday in its place. I'll then drag using the little square in the bottom right corner all the way to G1. And there you go. Excel fills in the rest of the week automatically. You can also copy, Ctrl+C, cut, Ctrl+X, and paste, Ctrl+V, the old-fashioned way. You can also insert or delete rows and columns. Since the process is the same for each, let's use rows for our example. Let's say I want a row above the days of the week. I'll right-click cell A1, select Insert, and choose one row above. Easy enough. Now I'll right-click the new row, select Delete, and click Row 1. You can also adjust the size of columns and rows. For example, if a column is too narrow, for example C, then select the border between C and D and drag C to the right. To resize a column, double-click the right border between it and the next column. You can also hide and unhide rows and columns. Simply right-click the header and choose Hide or Unhide. To find something quickly, press Ctrl+F. To replace something, press Ctrl+H and type the new text you want to change. Excel also has autocorrect, which fixes small typing mistakes, like turning TEH into the. Practicing these small steps builds speed. Try entering names, numbers, and simple notes in a few rows. Once you get used to typing, moving, and copying data, Excel starts feeling natural. Next, we'll make our data look clean and professional with formatting tools. Formatting and styling data. Good formatting is essential. It's the only way to ensure your spreadsheet is easy to read. Let's see how to do it. Start by selecting the cells you want to format. Let's work our way through the Home tab, going left to right. First up are the Undo and Clipboard buttons. Undo is self-explanatory, and the clipboard is where you can save text, formulas, and hyperlinks you use regularly. Next is the Format Painter, which lets you copy formatting from one cell to another. Click it once, then click another cell and apply the same style. We will use this later. After this are a bunch of basic tools where you can select a font, resize text, bold, italize, or underline, strike through or double underline text, add visual borders between cells, change the color of cells or text, shift alignments, choose to wrap text, merge cells and data, format numbers, for example, currency, date, percentage, etc., and add accounting features, currency, denominator, and cents. Conditional formatting automatically applies formatting to cells based on specific rules, such as highlighting cells that contain texts, are greater than a certain number, or are duplicates, among others. We will use conditional formatting during several of our projects. If you want ready-made designs, use cell styles. These are presets for titles, headings, or totals. They instantly give your sheet a clean look. And if you ever want to change these presets and make them your own, press Ctrl+1. That opens the Format Cells window on the right-hand side of your screen where you can adjust everything. Now you know how to make your sheet look sharp and organized. Perfect timing, because next we'll turn this data into a real table that can sort, filter, and grow automatically. For the next chapter, I'll be using a generated set of practice data. Don't worry, I'll include a link to the file in the description if you would like to follow along. Working with tables. Turning your data into a table gives it structure, meaning, and flexibility. A table is not just for looks. It lets you sort, filter, and expand your data automatically. It's one of Excel's most useful beginner tools. Let's dive right in. Start by selecting the entire data set. Go to the Home tab and click Format as Table. You'll see different color options. Pick one that you like. I will select the Section Medium option. Now, Excel will ask you to confirm your actions. If you downloaded the example, make sure to leave the box My Table has headers checked. Click OK. Easy enough. You'll notice a small arrow next to each column header. These arrows let you filter and sort. You can sort alphabetically, from smallest to largest, by category, or even by color if you formatted your cells. For example, if I only want to view employees in the East region, I'll open the drop-down menu next to Region by clicking the arrow, uncheck Select All, check Only East, and then click Apply. Easy enough. Undoing is as easy as hitting the button in the upper left or pressing Ctrl+Z. If you add a new row below the table, then Excel automatically extends the format. No need to redo anything. Each new row is automatically added to the table. You can also scroll to the bottom, click inside the last cell, East H11, and press Tab to add a new row instantly. Tables also help streamline formulas and calculations. We'll see how in the next chapter. One thing I'd like to highlight is the Auto Calculate feature, which allows you to easily add up a row or column. Click anywhere inside the table. Then select Table Design in the ribbon. Expand Style options and select Total Rows. Excel automatically adds a row at the bottom that allows you to calculate the sum, average, or more. Now I'll open the drop-down menu at the bottom of the total revenue column and select Sum. Now the table automatically displays the total revenue for the month. Pretty easy. Important note, deleting, adding, or modifying data does not affect the calculation. It will adjust automatically. This applies to both formulas and the total rows function. For example, I'll change the final revenue cell, F11, to $216.91 instead of $116.91. Hit Enter and you'll see that the total automatically updates. In short, tables are great for clarity and consistency. They also save you time and reduce mistakes. Now that you know how to structure your data using tables, let's start applying your newfound skills for real-world tasks, like building a payroll tracker that calculates salaries automatically. Project 1. Payroll System. Basic Formulas. Start by adding a new sheet at the bottom of the workbook and double-click on it to rename it Payroll System. Click OK. Let's keep it simple with only 4 columns at the top: employee name, hours worked, hourly rate, and total pay. I'll enter a few names: Ryan, George, Sabir, and Milan. Ryan will work 30 hours. George will work 50 hours, Sabir will work 20 hours, and Milan will work 45 hours. Hourly rates from top to bottom will be $30, $40, $20, and $25. I'll also switch this column to currency. Alright, now in the first cell of the total pay column, type this formula: equals B2 multiply by C2. In other words, take the number of hours worked in B2 and multiply them by the hourly rate in C2. Important note, all formulas in Excel begin with an equal sign. There are no exceptions. Press Enter. Instantly, Excel shows the results. Then click the same square at the bottom right of the cell and drag it down. Excel fills the formula for the rest of the employees. This simple formula uses relative cell references, which means it automatically adjusts for each row. If you copy it down, it becomes B3 times C3, or B4 times C4, and so on. That's one of the most powerful things Excel does. It repeats logic without you having to rewrite it. That said, you'll notice that the data for George and Milan consists of repeating number signs. We didn't do anything wrong. That's because the column isn't wide enough to display all the digits. To fix this, double-click the border between column D and E to resize it. Simple enough. You can also calculate company totals easily by using the equals sum function. Click on D6, type equals sum, open bracket, D2, D5, close bracket, and hit Enter to get the total payroll costs. Other useful formulas include average, min, max, and counts. For example, in cell B6, I can calculate the average number of hours we worked by typing equals average, open bracket, B2, B5, close bracket, and hitting Enter. The average number of hours worked this week then was 36 hours, 0.25 per person. With just a few basic formulas, you created an automated payroll system. Congratulations. Next, let's take it a step further by making the payroll table smarter by adding logic functions. Project 1 extension, overtime and logic. Many employees earn overtime pay, generally time and a half if they work more than 40 hours a week. Rather than having to calculate this by hand, we can have Excel handle it automatically with the if function. We need to create a new column between hourly rate and total pay called overtime pay. We'll do this by highlighting everything in the total pay column, right-clicking, selecting Insert, and then selecting Shift Cells Right. We will need to reformat this column by double-clicking the border between column E and F. All right, type in the name of our new column. Click the first cell and type equals if B2 larger than 40, comma, open bracket, B2 minus 40, close bracket, multiply C2 multiply by 1.5, comma 0, close bracket. This formula means that if the employee worked more than 40 hours, multiply the extra hours by the rate and by 1.5. Otherwise, show 0. Press enter and you'll correctly see that Ryan didn't earn any overtime. Now copy the formula down to fill the remaining rows just as we did in the previous chapter. Rename total pay to regular pay, and now you have both regular pay and overtime pay. Now let's add a new column called total pay at the end. In the first cell, type equals sum, open bracket, D2, E2, close bracket. Hit enter and drag it down. There we go. Feel free to replace the sum function at the bottom, totaling everything up. You can move it over to the new total pay column or have one in each. It's up to you. This simple if formula is your first introduction to logic in Excel, a great way to save time by having Excel think for you. Before we proceed, let's take a few seconds to make this sheet easier to read and more useful. Click Conditional Formatting. Select your total pay column. Click Conditional Formatting. Then highlight Cell Rules and choose Greater Than. Set Apply to cells F2 to F5. Enter an amount, for example, 2000, and select a green fill color under Format Styles. Click Done at the bottom. Now, any employee earning over that amount will be displayed in green automatically. As you can see, that was only George. Congratulations, you've now built a living payroll system that changes dynamically whenever you input new data. Next, let's apply what you've learned to a new type of project, one that deals with scores instead of salaries. It's time to build a gradebook. Project 2, Gradebook System. I'll include a link to the spreadsheet I'll be using in the description below, so you can download it and follow along easily. All right, now that we have our data, we need to calculate the average grade for each student. Click the first cell under Average and type equals average B2 to D2. Then press Enter and drag the formula down. You'll see each student's average update automatically when you change any score or add new ones. Next, let's add a pass or fail indicator using the if formula again. In the score column, type equals if, open bracket, E2 is larger or equals to 60, pass, fail. Now Excel automatically marks who passed or failed the class. We can also calculate the student's letter grades under score, but we haven't learned that skill yet. Let's skip it for now and return. For now, let's make the gradebook more visual with conditional formatting. Select the average column, go to Conditional Formatting, and choose Color Scales. Select a gradient where higher scores are displayed in green and lower ones in red, the first option. It gives an instant visual snapshot of performance. You can also sort and filter by status. First things first, highlight everything, open Format as Table, and select something that's visually pleasing to you. Okay, now click the drop-down arrow in the header of Average and choose either Filter by Color or Number Filters to easily find who is passing or failing. Now, you might be wondering why you would want to go through the trouble of filtering our data. After all, it's obvious now. That's true, but our dataset is still very small. Imagine a table of 200 students. Filtering at that point will save you tons of time. Let's round out the section by introducing a new function, rank. For example, type equals rank, open brackets, E2, comma, $E$ to $E$8, close bracket. Into the first cell, underscore for now, and press enter. Now we can see that Veronica is our top student, and Drake is our worst. By combining these simple formulas, you've built a functional, automatic gradebook. It calculates averages, highlights key results, and helps you make informed decisions quickly. Now, let's try something different. Project 3, Career Decision Chart. The next project is a fun one, a career decision chart that helps you choose between different career options. This will teach you how to use absolute references and a new formula called SumProducts. Again, a spreadsheet is included in the description that you can download to follow along. All right, I'll explain how the spreadsheet is set up. Column A lists occupations. Column B, pay. Column C, enjoyment. Column D, job demand. Column E, stress level. And column F, flexibility. These are all assigned a score between 1 and 10, with 1 being the worst and 10 being the best, except for stress. For stress, the dynamic is inverted, with 1 being the best and 10 being the most stressful. Below the chart is a list assigning weights to each factor. In other words, how important we consider each factor to be. Okay, now we need to calculate a total score for each job. To do that, we'll use the SumProduct function. Click the first total cell. Type equals SumProducts B2 to F2, comma, $, B, $6, $F, $6, close brackets, and press enter. This multiplies each score by its weight and adds the results together. By the way, the $signs at the end of the formula lock those cells and create what we call an absolute reference. It means the formula will always refer to those weights, even when you copy it down. Now copy the formula to other rows, and you will see the top scoring job appear clearly. This project demonstrates that Excel isn't just for business. It can also aid in personal decision making. By changing weights, you can instantly see how your priorities affect the outcome. Of course, it isn't perfect. It's hard to factor stress in alongside the other variables, which is slightly skewing our results. Still, despite its shortcomings, Excel gives you a structured way to make the best choices, even for life's biggest questions. Let's move on to the next skill, managing and analyzing larger sets of real data. Project 4, Sales Database, Data Tools. In this project, you will learn how to clean, organize, and analyze information using tools that save hours of manual work. For this example, we'll be working with a large set of sales data. Like always, you'll be able to download the spreadsheet in the description. This dataset includes random dates, customer names, product names, salespeople, and sales amounts. Salespeople and customer names are occasionally repeated to make the data more realistic, and they're not presented in any particular order. Real data is messy. Let's use Excel's data tools to turn it into something useful. The first tool we'll need is text to columns, which will enable us to separate customers' first and last names. Before we can do that, however, we need to add a new blank column between customer and products. I'll highlight the entire product column, right-click, select Insert, and select one column left. Okay, now select the customer column. Go to the Data tab in the ribbon and click Text to Columns. Under Delimiters, deselect Tab, then click Space and hit Apply. Excel will split the first and last names into separate columns, making it easier to verify who purchased what, enabling targeted marketing campaigns. Change the column titles to Customer First Name and Customer Last Name before moving on. Next, let's calculate the commissions for each salesperson. Create a new column called Commission and type this formula in G2, equals F2 multiply by 0.1, and drag it down. You can also set different rates for each salesperson using the if function. Let's take a few to sort and filter out data more systematically. Convert our data set into a table by navigating to the Home tab in the ribbon and selecting a format that suits your preferences. From here, click the drop-down menu in any row to easily sort through your data. For example, if you only want to look at Amanda's sales, then open the drop-down menu next to Salesperson, uncheck Select All, check Amanda, and hit Apply. Hit the Undo button or Ctrl+Z to undo any filter settings. Now, let's make your data visual. Highlight the product column, open the Insert tab in the ribbon, and then select Recommended Charts. Select the recommended chart that pops up on the right by clicking plus Insert Pivot Chart. This will open a new sheet with the data displayed in a small table, along with a handy bar graph to quickly identify outliers, spot trends, and manage your sales data. Congratulations! You've just used Excel like a real business analyst by letting it do the heavy lifting for you. But what if it could do even more? Rather than just display, sort, and filter data, what if it could analyze that data for you? Turns out it can. Let's see how Excel's built-in AI can analyze data for you. Analyze Data, AI Insights. The first tool I'll highlight here is called Analyze Data. Let's keep using the sales database from the last section. Head back to the first sheet. Open Data in the ribbon, and you will see Analyze Data in the middle of your options. Here, you'll be able to type to the AI using plain English, ask it a suggested question, or click on one of the pivot tables charts suggested under the Discover Insights section. There's more I could talk about here, but the Analyze Data tool is honestly out of date. Instead, let's pivot to the Copilot feature, a new AI-driven tool that does the Analyze Data tool's job, and far more to boot. We'll see everything Copilot can do in the next chapters, but for now, head back to Home, open the drop-down menu next to Copilot, and select Chat. A panel will open on the right side. All you have to do is ask questions in plain English, and the Copilot will do the work for you. For example, let's start with a broad question. How much money did we bring in January 2025? It will quickly run a calculation and tell us that sales totaled $487.40 for January 2025. Let's do a more specific question. Which salesperson has the highest sales? In a second, we'll learn that Brian has the highest sales amount. Pretty neat. Now that you've seen Excel's built-in intelligence, it's time to learn how to look up information inside large tables and across various workbooks using functions. Project 5, Car Inventory, Lookups, and Text Functions. First things first, download the Car Inventory workbook in the description. Here's a quick tour of the workbook before we get started. It is divided into two sheets, Car Information and Dealer Information. Car Information has 40 rows of data and is split into columns Car ID, Make, Model, Year, Color, Price, and Dealer. Dealer Information lists the names, addresses, and phone numbers of 8 major dealers. Alright, so here's the situation. We need to pull data from one sheet to another. The most useful formula, and the one we'll be using, is called XLOOKUP. Here's how the formula we want to put in cell H2 equals XLOOKUP, brackets open, G2, comma, dealer information, exclamation mark, A2, A9, comma, dealer information, exclamation mark, C2, C9, brackets closed. In essence, this formula looks for the dealer ID in the second sheet and then returns the dealer's name. Excel also gives you the text tools that can be used to clean up data. For example, let's do something practical and combine make and model into one column. In cell I2, I'll use this function, equals text join, open brackets, comma, true, comma, B2, comma, C2, close brackets, and press enter. Now I can drag this all the way down to combine the make and model for all the cars. Now let's dive deeper into data analysis and learn how to use pivot tables to turn large data sets into powerful summaries. Pivot tables, drag and drop insights. Pivot tables sound and look complicated, but they're actually one of the easiest and most powerful tools in Excel. They let you summarize thousands of rows in seconds. No formulas needed. Also, don't worry about downloading a new file. We'll go ahead and use the car inventory workbook again. But I will delete everything in columns H and I to make things a bit more streamlined. Alright, click any cell, then go to the Insert tab in the ribbon and select Pivot Table. Now you can choose to start from scratch by opting to create your own pivot table. But I actually plan to cover pivot tables in a standalone video soon, so we're going to play around with one of the recommended suggestions instead. Let's go with the pivot table called Price by Make and model. Next, choose where you want it to go. New sheet is the best option because it avoids overcluttering one sheet, so go ahead and click plus new sheet. Okay, our data is over on the left. In the first column, we have the make of the car. In the next column, the different models. And in the last column, something called sum of price. We'll figure out what that means and how to change it in a minute. Now, look to the right at pivot table fields. Here we see all the different types of data from the car information sheet, as well as what's included and not included in the pivot table. We can also see how these fields are classified, such as rows and values. Now, what is sum of price? It's simple, the combined price of purchasing each model. You can understand the logic of Excel, but it's not a very useful metric, is it? Instead, let's use something more insightful, like the average price of a car from a specific company. Hover over sum of price in the pivot table fields, open the drop-down menu, and select Value Field Settings at the very bottom. This is where we can change the calculation we want the table to display. We want the average, so select it and click OK. Now we can see the average price of a new car across all the company's models. The name of the column will update automatically to average of price, but the name of the title column for each maker hasn't changed. Rather than changing all of these manually, make sure you're on the Home tab at the top and click the magnifying glass on the right-hand side, labeled Find and Select. Select Replace. Type Total under Find and Average under Replace With. Click Replace All, and there you go. Now we can quickly see how much, on average, a car costs from each company we work with. One last thing about pivot tables before we move on. Slicers. Slicers are an easier-to-use filtering tool that use clickable buttons. Click on any cell in the pivot table, go to Insert in the ribbon, and select Slicer. Now you'll be asked to pick a slicer. I'll go with color. Check the box next to it and click OK. The slicer will get added as a drag-and-drop add-on. By default, it won't be doing anything. We can change that simply by clicking on a color such as red. Now, only cars available in red appear, and we can see their prices. We also see the average, but the name reverted to total. And this is the issue with slicers. They can be super beneficial, but they can also start doing really funky things with your data that are difficult, if not impossible, to troubleshoot. If you're feeling brave, you can right-click on a slicer and click Show Settings. This is well outside the scope of today's tutorial, so browse through these at your own risk. Now, before we move on, one important note. Pivot tables do not update in real time. Whenever you add new data to the original table, simply right-click inside the pivot table and select Refresh. You never need to redo the setup, unless slicers get way out of hand. As helpful as pivot tables are for spotting trends quickly, they're not much easier on the eyes than raw tables. With that in mind, let's learn how to make your findings shine visually using Excel's chart tools. Charts and data visualization. Numbers alone, no matter how well organized, are hard to read and understand. Charts help you tell a story, and they show patterns instantly. Excel offers a variety of chart types. We'll begin with the most useful ones: column, pie, and line. Remember the workbook called Gradebook example? Go ahead and open it. Highlight the entire student name, assignment 1, assignment 2, and assignment 3 columns, open Insert, and click Recommended Charts. Quick Charts 101. You'll want to choose a column chart to compare values, a pie chart to show parts of a whole, or a line chart to display change over time. Since we're comparing values, the grades of students on assignment 1, I'll use the first recommended charts, a bar graph, by clicking plus Insert Chart. You can edit everything related to a chart. For example, you can easily move it by clicking on it and holding. And you can resize it by clicking one of the 8 circles around the border. You can edit each aspect of the chart individually by clicking on it, or you can right-click the chart and select Format. You can expand each element of the chart to make edits. For example, I'll open the vertical axis section and change the maximum bound of the chart from 120 to 100 and hit Enter. I'll also change the axis title from Assignment 1 to Grades and hit Enter. I will also enable the chart title and name it Student Assignment Results before hitting Enter. You can also change colors for each series by selecting Fill and picking a new one. Unlike PivotTables, charts automatically update when your data changes, so you don't have to worry about manually updating them. You can also create a combo chart that combines different charts into a single view. It's a great way to compare trends in a more advanced data analysis. In short, charts turn your hard work into insight at a glance. They help people understand information faster, which is why they're used in every report from classrooms to boardrooms. Now that you can visualize results beautifully, it's time to learn how to share your work and collaborate with others in real time. Share and co-author, collaboration. Excel makes collaboration easy, especially in the web version, where multiple people can work on the same file at the same time. If you're using Excel for the web, your files are already saved in OneDrive, Microsoft's cloud storage. This means you don't need to email attachments back and forth. Everything is stored online, updated in real time, and accessible from anywhere. To share any workbook, click the Share button in the top right corner. You can invite people by email, share, or copy a shareable link to the workbook or a specific sheet and send it their way. Under Manage Access, you can also choose whether others can only view your work or edit the file along with you. If you give editing access, you can see when they're online and what they're working on, and see their names appear near the cells they're working on. If you're using Excel for the web, but your colleague is using the desktop version, no worries. Also, as saving to OneDrive is enabled, real-time collaboration is also possible. When many people work in the same file, Excel automatically saves versions in the background. You can view older versions anytime by going to File, Version History. That way, if someone accidentally deletes something, you can easily restore it. You can also leave comments anywhere in the workbook. Select a cell. I'll select A2, right-click, and choose New Comments. This is great for teamwork. You can tag someone with @name, and they'll get notified by email. Replies stay threaded, so it's easy to track discussions about a specific data point or formula. Another helpful tool is Protect Sheet, which can be found under the Review tab. With this, you can lock cells or formulas that you don't want others to change. For example, I'll toggle Protect Sheet on. This locks the whole sheet. If you only want to lock a specific row or column, you can do that too by expanding the view next to Unlocked Ranges, clicking Add Range, and selecting what you want to enable editing for. In my case, I only want to protect the headings, so I'll select A2 to G41 and hit Enter. Now, the overall format of the document is protected, while I can still let coworkers update or add data to the sheet. Adding people directly to your workbook works when they are teammates that you trust. But what do you do when you need to share information with someone outside your organization? Well, you can download a copy of your workbook as a PDF or CSV to ensure all your hard work stays safe. We'll see how to do that in the next chapter. Print and export. Let's get right into it. Printing is easy enough. Click File, Print, or press Ctrl+P to open the print preview. You'll see a live preview of how your sheet looks on paper. If something doesn't fit properly, don't worry, Excel gives you several layout tools. First, check the orientation. Switch between portrait and landscape to see which one better fits your data. Landscape tends to work best for large datasets, but experiments. Next, look at scaling. Choose Fit Sheet on one page if you want everything on a single page. This is great for summaries or reports. If your dataset is massive, use Fit All Columns on one page. This keeps all your columns visible, even if rows spill onto extra pages. If you want to print only part of your sheet, select that range. Then choose Print Selection under Settings. Always double-check that grid lines and titles are clear. It helps people read your data. If you don't need a physical copy, exporting is even easier. Go to File, Export, Download as PDF. Check the orientation, scaling, and format before hitting download. Pretty simple. A PDF is ideal because most chat messaging apps and emails can open PDFs in-app without any issues. Now let's take a closer look at one of the most exciting features that Excel has. Copilot in Excel. Copilot is Microsoft's new AI assistant built into Excel, designed to help you work faster. This is the future of Excel. You can ask it to summarize data, create charts, or best of all, write and troubleshoot complex formulas. Let's test it out using the car inventory workbook. Make sure you're on the Home tab, select Copilot, and click Chat. To recap, you can ask basic questions using plain English. For example, I'll ask the AI the following: which dealer are we most reliant on? It'll take a few seconds, but here's our answer. We are most dependent on Auto World, with City Motors, Prime Autos, and Riverfront cars all tied for second place. That's neat, but this is something the Analyze Data tool could have done. So what makes Copilot unique? For one thing, it can recommend and even troubleshoot complex formulas. Let's pull up the sales database to see Copilot in action. All right, remember how we added a flat fee commission calculation at the end of the table? We'll keep that model with one twist. Amanda needs to have a 15% commission, whereas everyone else needs to remain at 10%. I'll pull up Copilot and ask it this question. I have a commission column that uses a basic formula to award my salespeople 10%. I want Amanda to receive a 15% commission and everyone else to continue receiving 10%. What formula can I use for this calculation? We got our answer and formula almost instantly. It even explains the formula in plain English so you can become a better formula crafter yourself. Let's try it out. I'll copy Copilot's output, paste it into G2, and the whole column will be updated automatically. Now, Amanda can enjoy her seniority. Now, let's break the formula. I'll go ahead and delete the quotation marks around Amanda before feeding the formula to Copilot and asking it to troubleshoot. And here's the answer. Text values can only be referenced if they're included in double quotation marks. That's not all Copilot can do though. Let's have it build a new column for us. Here's what I'll prompt. Build a new column to the right of amounts and the left of commission. Apply a 10% discount to all amounts. Do not change any existing formulas or calculations. Simply add a new column with these parameters. So instead of having it done for us, we received a step-by-step guide on how to do it ourselves. That's not surprising because Copilot cannot make changes to an existing workbook. Still, it can do our work for us. We just need to get creative. Here's a follow-up prompt. Do it for me. Create a new, downloadable workbook with the changes implemented. All right, let's see how it worked. I'll download and open the new file. There are a few formatting issues, but it appears to have worked for the most part. Excellent. Remember, Copilot is still being improved, so results may vary. It's not a replacement for understanding Excel yourself, but a tool to speed up tasks you already know how to do. Even without Copilot, everything you've learned so far gives you the ability to process, understand, and present data. But there's no guarantee that everyone you will work with will be as careful as you. With data protection in mind, let's talk a bit about data validation. Data validation. Now that you know how to type, format, and calculate data, it's time to control what people can enter. When you share a workbook or build forms, you don't want random mistakes, and data validation prevents that. I'll go ahead and open the car inventory workbook for this example. So in the future, when employees are adding to the inventory list, let's say I only want them to be able to pick between the 2021 and 2023 models. To get started, I'll highlight column D all the way down to row 200. Now I'll go to the Data tab and select Data Validation. Settings is the tab we want to work with. First things first, choose the type of data you will allow. We'll be using whole number. Data needs to be set to between. The minimum needs to be set to 2021 and the maximum needs to be set to 2023. Hit Apply. Now I'll try to type 2024 in cell D42 and hit Enter. A pop-up will appear explaining the data validation rule and ensuring the mistake doesn't happen again. Let's open our data validation settings one more time so I can show you another way to configure your inputs. Instead of using whole number, you can select lists. Data will be set automatically, and for the source, the options people have to choose from must be entered as a single, continuous string with only commas separating them. For example, I'll enter 2021, 2022, 2023, and click Apply. Now, when I go down to cell D42, I can open a drop-down menu and only have those three options. Data validation is another tool in the shed that helps keep your sheets clean, predictable, and easy to understand. Two other tools are named ranges and formula management, which we'll discuss in the next chapter. Named ranges and formula management. As your workbooks grow, cell references like equals B2 multiplied by C2 become hard to track. That's where named ranges come in. As the name implies, they turn cell addresses into meaningful names. Let's stay on the car inventory workbook. Select all of column C, Models. In the name box, top left beside the formula bar where it says C1, type Models and press Enter. Now, instead of typing C2 multiplied by F2, for example, you could type Models multiplied by F2, and Excel will adjust accordingly. Named ranges also work across sheets, making large projects easier to read. You can manage all your named ranges by going to the Formula tab and opening Name Manager. Rename, edit, or delete them anytime. Understanding how named ranges and formulas connect within and across sheet is the first step toward advanced Excel modeling. Once you start trying to build complex operations, you won't want to waste your time doing repetitive data entry or formula writing, and you don't have to. Instead, Excel's automation tools can do it for you. Let's see how. Basic automation with Flash Fill. The first tool we're going to look at is called Flash Fill, which learns patterns as you type. You've probably already seen this tool in action throughout this video without even realizing it. Let's stick with the car inventory workbook, but open the dealer information sheet. All right, let's say I only want the city of each dealer in its own column. So I'll name column these cities. Now I'll type the first two in, Chicago and Dallas. Now, rather than filling the rest out manually, I'll highlight the cells I want flash filled, open the Data tab, and click Flash Fill. As you can see, Excel understood what I was trying to do based on the pattern it detected from the first two entries. Pro tip, you can also use Flash Fill by pressing Ctrl+E. Now let's talk about a data automation tool that can collect, clean, and combine data for you from multiple sources. Power Query. Introduction to Power Query. Let's jump right in without wasting any time. We will need to use the desktop version of Excel for this final chapter. While Power Query does work in the online version, it is very slow, unresponsive, and glitchy. If you want to follow along, then download the car inventory workbook by going to File, Create a Copy, Download a Copy. Click on the file name, and it will open automatically. You will then need to disable Protected View by clicking Enable Editing. All right, go to Data, get data from other sources from web. For example, I'll go to the URL that's currently displayed on the screen. This is a US economic survey put out by the Federal Reserve. All right, I'll paste the URL in the field and press OK. I'll approve an anonymous connection by clicking Connect. I'll use the first recommended HTML table here. Rather than clicking Loan, however, I'll select Transform Data. That will open the data in the Power Query editor. Here, you can remove columns you don't need, rename headers for consistency, change data types, combine tables using the append, stack, or merge functions, and filter rows, just like in Excel, but without changing your original data. When you're done, click Close and Load. Excel will create a new sheet to store the data. And the best part, if the original data changes, simply open the Table Design tab and click Refresh. Power Query automatically re-imports everything from the same source and applies the same filters and changes you made in the editor the first time. In other words, no copying and pasting, no retyping. Once you do it once, it's good to go for the foreseeable future. All right, you now know far more than most casual Excel users. You can organize, format, calculate, and summarize data. You can analyze information visually with charts and pivots. You understand how to clean, validate, share, and protect your work. You've glimpsed how to automate and connect data for real-world efficiency. Whether you're managing finances, teaching classes, tracking projects, or exploring data analytics, Excel is now part of your professional toolkit. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.